And we'll have a big Channel 1450.com awards night, which I think Peerless should be one of the primary sponsors of, in late June out at the LRS.
Hey, Jay, could you run the numbers on that and see if there's anybody that actually looks at that? I mean, because according to Kevin, the whole city will be watching it,
Joining us today is Kevin O'Day, President and General Manager of Neuhoff Media Springfield. Thanks for joining us at the table.
Guys, I feel so good about being here. I think I've watched the initial 3 episodes of The Table. It's great, a great idea. I think I'm obviously I'm fourth in line. The representative was first. Jay Garth the third, second. Mike Murphy, all 3 great guys. I'm honored to be, I believe, the fourth, or maybe there may be some in front of me. I think I may be misspeaking there, but honored to be here.
Well, thank you. Thanks for coming. It's hard to take you
somebody
serious.
Turn the air conditioning on?
I thought I turned it on this morning.
Thank God we're not using key lights. I'd be like,
what's a key light? You're a media guy.
Key light is what you see in TV studios and stuff. The real bright lights. So
oh yeah, because that'd be nice. Warm. Yeah.
So wonderful. Yeah. Jay's done a marvelous job. This is great.
So you don't believe it when I told the first guest that this was all Brad's doing?
Well, I'm sure the idea germinated with Wikester, but I mean, just the equipment, the setup, it's really sharp.
First class for sure.
Very nice.
I didn't know what to expect, but
it's great.
I agree.
Yeah.
And the sound quality and everything.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. I've watched them. They're really nice.
Yeah. No,
good
thank
idea.
You. It's all Jay's doing, by the way.
Well, good job, Jay.
But it's an honor to have you here today, Kev.
Appreciate it.
I said this may be the first conversation we have that it's not just slapstick and about sports and other things. That so.
That's about, I know, and I see it. We always talk sports.
A lot of sports, yeah.
Well, we were talking the other day, wondered what it's like for you to have to work for Sam Madonia.
Well, let's be clear on that. Although,
that's a good lead-off question. I like that.
Hey, we're going to get right into it.
No, it's fine. I can't tell you how many times it happened, probably twice last week, that when people see me, they think I'm him. I have been referred. No, Hembrough, I'm telling you the truth. And you know what I do when they do that? I just sort of stare at them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not him. Don't call me. But I vote for a long time, and I'm loud like him, and and I have some Italian in me.
Yeah.
And that, but no, we've had a long relationship. He came up, he started, all we did at the beginning in 91 or 2.
Is that when you started?
Well, he was at Lincoln.
Okay.
That's when I brought him on board through a friend of mine who sold for us and then went up to run the Lincoln stations. He told me about Sam. I never knew anything about Sam because back then he was at Lincoln as a teacher. He was the voice of Railer football and basketball. They had a great run in the day. Even their football was good. Mm-hmm. And then he told me, this guy needs to, you should do SHG football, because at the time TAX was doing everybody. And there was no reason to try to compete with that. Mm-hmm. Shelby Harbison, great broadcaster. He had Coley, Cowan, and Schweitzer and Levin and Ed Mahoney, all those guys. So I met Sam. We started doing those SHG, those 9 football games. Mm-hmm. We did a few basketball games because then I got to know Rupert and he did the games with him. I'd cart all this equipment out to Lober and Ika Gym, for basketball, and I'd be setting up this big tower, and it was nuts. But we started like that. Yeah. And then at some point, shortly after that, because we did games the year before the conference started. I think the conference started in 92 or 3. So they did all 9 conference games one year. They went up to Crystal Lake and all over. And he said, look, I'm going to, at 30 years, he taught at Lincoln from 65 to 95. 30, I'm going to take my retirement. And how about we do a morning show? Mm-hmm. And so then we started that morning show in the fall, October of 96, because of course first he had to get the obligatory state job, which he did and still has. I might add.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, Secretary of State. Right?
We won't go into that, but he still does. And in June 30th, he's going to be 80 years old.
Is that I
right?
never would have thought that.
See, and I
He's
have
a very
no idea of the
young-
history of how you guys met.
Yeah,
and
that's
the
through a
story.
third.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
through a third party, and he literally. The year before he started with us, he was actually doing the SHG games on 96.7 out of Verdon, which we didn't own at the time. We now own it. So when I plucked him from there, I know the guy that owns that. He wasn't very happy. But no, we've had a great run. Last year was our 32nd year, I think.
Well, when we
doing
came
Griffin
over to from Decatur here, I mean, we did quite a bit of advertising
did.
with you, and I mean, it's unbelievable how many people follow his show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember I told
is.
Todd, I said, hey, we got to be on the Sam Madonia show because I mean, everybody listens to it in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. But you know why? I mean, and it's like this. Mm-hmm. We're local.
Right.
You know, that's the one thing. You're always going to win if you're local. I don't care. You know, people, you know how many times I've heard, radio.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when XM and Sirius came about. Hey, when colored TV was invented, they thought that was going to ruin radio for some reason.
Yeah.
And then XM Sirius was going to do away with us. I go, it'll never happen as long. Now our industry's changed.
Sure.
Right.
But it'll never happen as long as you have local content. And we have local content on all four of our stations on channel1450.com, which, fellas, let's devote a little time to that in this interview.
Okay, that's fine.
So, I mean,
Whatever you
as, long,
say.
as long as
This
you
is your
have
40 minutes. So.
local content, people are going to tune in, and now it bothers me because for a long time there was a lot of other local content on the other groups, and there still is, but not as much.
Not as much as yours, yeah.
And that concerns me. But no, and that's, if you want to know what's going on, you're going to tune in. You're going to hear about the bake sale at the Greek church, and then you're going to hear Dick Durbin.
Right.
In the next segment, maybe.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
you just never know. Today it was all about the cookie share with the Girl Scouts and Carla Miller at Hickory Point Bank.
Yeah. Yeah, she talked about that actually a little bit on her. Yeah.
That's a very big deal. I was out there at noon, and they do it here and over in Decatur. And but it's all about local. He's local. He's from here. He knows all those old stories from the past. All the back when that's people like that.
No, he's a good. You hit the nail on the head with the local.
My hope is that he outlasts me, which he says he will, not only doing radio but on this earth. Because I have often told him, if I'm named a pallbearer for you at Calvary Cemetery, and I know where his plot is. He's one of those that already has the headstone with the name on it, just doesn't have a year after the dash. And it's sort of up a hill. I said, I'd like nothing more than it to be an icy December, January day and to sort of slip and drop your rear end right down that. No, we joke about that. That's we joke.
I know you do.
That. Yeah.
I love it.
So,
I had no idea of that history. That's actually a great story.
No, it was sort of and I think he might have talked to another station or whatever, but he's,
Were morning shows big back then, or was it new, kind of a new thing?
Well, no. The morning show's sort of the base of, you got to have a good morning drive show.
Gotcha.
And, back then, One-Eyed Jack was still on. TAX, Tim Schweitzer and those guys were over there. I mean, we just sort of started. We put lawn chairs in the studio. We were not set up to have because that station was always music. When Hembrough back in the day was in high school and stuff, 1450 was the top 40 station. People listened to it, and then as music flipped over to the FM side. We became oldies on there, and then we flipped that over to 96.7 and had to do something. So, and we couldn't go, news talk or whatever. So I did that and then went the sports route the rest of the day just because nobody else was doing that.
Yeah.
Now, was it Neuhoff all the way back then?
At the time then it was called Eastern Broadcasting, but it was Roger Neuhoff's company.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then Roger was a great broadcaster based out east, Washington, D.C., had stations all over. He eventually sold to his son, Jeff.
Okay.
He sold the stations here and in Quincy. Am I right? Yes, that's right. And so Jeff started his own sort of offshoot of Eastern. Roger got rid of all those stations. It was a good time to sell. And so Jeff owned us. And then our industry went through where the FCC, the federal government, deregulated radio, because forever you can only own 7 AMs, 7 FMs, and 7 TV
No
stations.
kidding.
You could not own any more than that.
Okay.
Well, then they deregulated. And then here came what became Clear Channel. Now iHeart. You guys all hear iHeart.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
so we were part of that, which, a lot of people say to me, that had to be horrible. No, it wasn't. I learned a lot. They had wonderful systems. We got generators at our transmitter sites. That was a big deal. When you're a little owner, you can't always do all that. So I learned a lot from them. So he, that was from about 95 or 6 to, he repurchased us in 08, 09. He bought us back from, and then Clear Channel, iHeart, they decided to get rid of their smaller and medium markets, only kept their big ones. They had like 400 markets. It's ridiculous. And he bought us back, which was really unusual. And then he sadly passed away summer of 2012. And then his wife took over because the dad, he and his dad were still in business together. And so I've really, when we were with Clear Channel and all the other what Clear Channel became, it was some other companies first. I always ran it like we did when it was just Neuhoff. I never,
Gotcha.
my employees never knew about all the
Never knew any
corporate
different.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
I've always run it like that.
Well, I would say a lot of our listeners and people who are tuning in probably had no idea that you came from the dry cleaning side of the business. Share the story about that.
My dad, I always talk about Toluca, Illinois. That's where my folks are from. Little north east of Peoria, nice Italian-Irish town.
And a good Italian
Probably
restaurant
the
there
reason
that you
why
love.
my
Right?
folks were divorced after 25 years, an Irishman and an Italian. And my mom was a strong Italian, let me tell you. My dad was a dry cleaner in Toluca, and then my brother and sister were born there. They're older than me, and then we moved to Burlington, Iowa. My dad, and I vividly remember it. We had a dry cleaning plant right on the Mississippi River. If you've ever been to Burlington, it's right on the river. And I as a kid, I remember going in there and helping him. And then we moved to the southern suburbs of Chicago because he had an opportunity. And that's where I really did it a lot. He had a mini clean franchise, so he had different ones. And I remember I visualized my dad at that spotter table, Bradley,
Yep. Oh, yeah.
with those chemicals and breathing in that perk.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went to Marquette, got out of Marian Catholic, went to Marquette. I'd help him in the summers. And, when I got out of school, I had that opportunity. Yeah. And by that time, he had plants in Harvey, Illinois, and Hazel Crest. And I did it but I always wanted to be in radio. I always wanted to be in radio, and I wanted to be a sports guy. And I did do that for a few months. And I always remember the day I went to him, and I said, and he remarried a very strong woman who was in the cleaning business at the time, and they sort of merged. And I just looked at him and I said, I can't do this. I just can't. I wanted, and I think it disappointed him. I know I would be, in shape like you guys if because
in there.
it was, let me tell you, back then
dry cleaning
in the
plant.
summers with those pressers, and he had big plant.
Oh, did
a
he?
lot of pressers going in those things you put the shirts on and the dresses, those forms. I remember all that.
Oh, yeah.
And I bagged and I put shirts in boxes, waited on the. I did it all, and it was, it was.
Yeah, it's hot.
and
we even had the swamp coolers, and it's still hot.
Hotter than hell.
You had a dry cleaning business too. It is
But
miserable.
I forgot.
Right. Yeah, we all have that in common.
Yeah. Now my dad knew the Martins were from Park Forest, where I grew up.
Okay.
Because I think that's who had Finks before.
Prior to the fellow who bought it. Yeah, bought Evans' old plant and Finks and merged those together.
And I think my dad probably over the years
probably knew who
would have ran in here because they
I would
went to
think.
all those
the dry cleaning
those conventions in Vegas
for sure. Yeah.
But I did start, so I think it's I still think a lot about it. And I know what dry cleaning is a tough business, and back then, I mean suits, everybody wore suits, the shirts, light, medium, premium heavy starch, and we had a clientele that liked to starch their jeans. I mean, we did a lot of business.
Sure. I
So,
bet. It
and
sounds like
that's
you had a
changed
big
a lot.
plan. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I remember growing up, in the 80s, because that was really the driving force for our business was the dry cleaning
Right.
side of it back
Right.
in the early 80s.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And even late 70s. I was quite a bit younger, but I remember there might have been 50 yards of men's suits hanging
Right.
and maybe a little bit of shirts.
Yes.
Now
Right.
it's totally the opposite.
Yeah.
You have, 400 shirts and maybe 2 suits.
Right.
That whole
And I
industry's
remember when
changed.
conveyors came in.
Yes.
Yeah.
We used to hang everything on those.
Yes.
Those.
Yeah, we always
metal-
put manual slip rails in.
Yeah, it
but
was unbelievable. Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah,
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it's a different business.
It's
business
different now,
today.
but it was a tough business. He was
Yeah.
there 4, 5 o'clock in the morning,
Yes.
and then, I used to
with
run shirts down to the Chinese district in
Right.
Chicago. That's where
yeah.
the Chinese laundries did the shirts.
Yeah, we subbed ours out as
Yeah,
well because
yeah,
back then
that's
we
what
didn't do
you did.
shirts.
It
Yeah.
was-
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Well, get him to
I'm a
talk
dry
about
cleaner at heart.
104.5. Otherwise, they'll walk out of here all salty on us.
104.5.
well, that's one of our stations. We have 4 stations.
No,
guys.
104.5.com.
Dot com, you talking about.
Well, channel1450.com.
Or 1450.com. Yeah.
But I do
Whatever
want to
it
say
is, just talk about it.
104.5.
That way you don't get all,
Salty.
Yeah, salty on
I'm not
me.
going to get salty in this interview.
Okay.
104.5 is our lead station. That's the big country
Yes.
station. It's been country here
Which I
since
listen to it all the
65.
time,
That's
yes.
our big one.
Yep.
With John Spalding and Lee in the mornings.
They do a great job.
Then we got your friend Bonzi, who I
Yep.
saw out at Hickory Point Bank. He's on 99.7
Love
The
Bonds.
Mix. Good
He's the
guy.
guy.
Been with me almost 20 years.
Yep.
And then we have 96.7 Bob FM. And on there, that's where we run a lot of high school football.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 80s and 90s music. And then we have sports radio, 92.3 and 1450. But then what we started, and you know him, Chris, Zach Kirker
Yeah.
from the clinic. He was at Channel 20 as a weekend sports guy, good young man, and didn't renew his contract there. Came over to us as a salesperson and started just the early, blogging about high school sports and that. And we saw some traction there. And then he and Brian Bose, who at the time was the lead sports guy at Channel 20, and then he didn't renew his. They started up what is now
Right.
channel1450.com. That was 11 or 12 years ago. And now, we had no idea what we were doing. We really didn't. But it was nothing but high school. High school videos, features, scores, nobody. And even back then, TV was still running a decent local sportscast. And then there was the newspaper coverage, but it was the videos that you could.
Oh, 10 Question Tuesday was awesome.
that.
I mean,
the
you
big
guys-
nasty,
yeah, the big nasty,
all those
yeah.
things. But what it was, as time evolved, I remember we do those post game shows for Griffin football out at the KC and. The 49er years ago. And we'd be there, and when the sports came on at 10:20 or 10:25, they'd stop just to watch those highlights. Sure. That was it. Well, we have those up now sometimes by 10 o'clock.
Immediately, yeah.
Which you have to do.
Yeah.
But I never would have thought back then that even TV now has such limited local
Oh, I know.
sports coverage. I think they just hired a person here, but we were getting it out of Champaign and hey, everybody has to run their business like they need to, but there was just no local stuff.
Right.
And so it has become,
That's where you get your news from.
that's where people go.
Well, because a newspaper, I used to read the sports page every morning.
yeah,
and I don't even take
And now
the
if the
paper.
game's played,
Yeah.
if there's a baseball game this afternoon,
Yeah.
there will be nothing in about it till Wednesday because they have a 4 o'clock deadline.
Right.
But
Right.
I do want to say that's not just here. That's around.
Yeah,
the
that's
country.
the newspapers
That's just,
everywhere.
and now it's internet based and everything. So
Sure.
no, that's been, and now we finally it took a while, but we figured out how to monetize it, which was important because
Yeah.
But believe it or not, there's only 3. There's just 3, really 2.5 people that do all of that. Now there are interns and some part timers that go out and shoot, but it was Zach and Brian, and then Zach brought Derek Paris on board, who's does a wonderful job. Leanna Churchill. We've had others. I've had 2 guys come in from Temple because they have a program now. You can major in that video production and all that. And they came in, and now they're back. They got good jobs. One out at an East Coast station. One guy's down in Dallas, and don't have any problem finding people for there because young people want to do that.
Sure.
So it's really, and we'll have a big Channel 1450.com awards night, which I think Peerless should be one of the primary sponsors of in late June out at the LRS.
Hey, Jay, could you run the numbers on that and see if there's anybody that actually looks at that? Because according to Kevin, the whole city will be watching it,
But we'll do an award show, and we'll award all area and Central State 8 teams, best in every sport. We'll have highlights up of them, and we'll fill the hangar. We did it out at the fairgrounds last.
Oh, really?
That's how we sort of culminate.
That many people. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah,
that's
that's
good.
great.
That's a lot of people. So
yeah.
very proud of that. I really had nothing to do with that. I just sort of said yes and no sometimes, and they just. Zach ran with that, and most people know the story. And then,
well, that's the key, right? Getting the right people.
Right people. You got to find the right people, put them in, and let them do their thing.
Yeah, and Zach's great.
And he's great, and I don't want to say, I don't think parlayed's the right word, but Clinic came after him, and now he heads up. I know he's more than just marketing. He has a longer title than that, but they do a great job, and the Clinic is very advanced, and they do a lot with us too. So everybody thought when Zach left, we were in trouble, but Derek just picked it up. We never lost a beat. And I do want to comment, during COVID, when no games were played, and I always remember, and Beth wouldn't mind me saying this, she called me after COVID, and she said, Kev, time to turn off Channel 1450. There's really no point. You're looking to cut expenses during that time. Yeah. I'll never forget when that happened, and you just saw cancel it, advertising and I said, Beth, we cannot do it. It's too important to the sports community here.
Sure.
And he somehow, by himself, Derek Paris, set up shop in his garage. He brought coaches in. They rehashed.
Right? Yeah, I remember that.
He put up, they watched highlights of games from
like Derek Leonard would be in there talking about.
And they went through the games and had enough stuff to, and our viewership, because, on that, you can see what's happening.
Oh, yeah.
You know what's happening. And it was, that was a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah,
So
that.
I pledged we would not turn, and then after we came back, it was a whoosh,
Yeah.
So you said earlier you always wanted to be in media.
Always. I used to, I love, my favorite sport, I don't talk about it a lot, you wouldn't know this, but my favorite sport's hockey. And I would sit in front of the TV with my mom, and the Blackhawks back in the day, grew up south side of Chicago. It was Bobby Hall, Stan Mikita, Hawks had some good, but NHL only had 6 teams. And I would sit there, I had a little, I think it was Zenith, a little reel-to-reel tape recorder, little tiny reels. And I would had Mickey Mouse mic or and I'd sit there and do the play by. I turned this do the play by play, and cool. I would that's all I ever wanted to do was that. So when I went to college, I knew I didn't want to major in that, so I majored in business marketing, and then I did journalism on the side. But I did some radio in college and stuff. But I always wanted to be an air talent. But I interned for a CBS affiliate up in Milwaukee when I was at Marquette. And I quickly learned that if you wanted to, make any money, you had to get on the sales side at the time. And that's what I did. And did the dry cleaning for a few months. And I came down I came down to Springfield. I did not know one soul when I got the job out at I worked at WMAY for Tom Kushak.
Okay.
Is that right?
My first 3 years. We talk. I still regularly see him, and him in Maryland. Yep.
Yeah.
And they were out in Spalding. They just moved out there, and MAY was there were only 5 radio stations in town. There's 14 now, and they played country on AM. I didn't know anything about it, but I learned how to sell it, and then went to St. Louis for 1 year, learned a little bit, came back, and 40 plus years over on South 4th Street now.
Yeah, interesting. Do you see yourself slowing down at all? Maybe retiring in the next few years or no?
Bradley, do you think I should?
No, I don't. I mean, you work all the time. Every time I see us going to the office at 6:45, you drive by me and you don't pay attention. I wave at you. Next time I'm trying to run you off the road.
I know, I'm terrible.
Then, that's the way you wave at me. And then I call you to meet me for early dinner and drinks at 5, and you can't get there till 6 typically because you work all day.
Well, I enjoy
Are you cutting back a little bit or no?
A little. I went, I did a couple 3 weeks in Florida.
Okay.
This winter. I like it.
Yeah.
If I didn't like it, I wouldn't do it. What would I look at me?
What
would I do? But I don't know what I'd have to do something. I'm sure I could volunteer or whatever,
Yeah.
but I got good people. I could leave and they handle it.
What is your leadership style like? What's your leadership style like with your?
Well, I like to just pick local people and let them do their thing. Okay. I don't really I rarely tell my announcers. I mean, I try to support them and give them ideas, or I really let people do that. I'm not real hands-on.
Yeah.
Now, they may tell you differently, but I try, and I really concentrate on the sports station so much. Now that I do, because there's a lot going on there. Sure. And but I got great help there. If I didn't have Tim Schweitzer, I would be.
He's great at it.
He handles all those scheduling, all those broadcasts. I mean, we do 60 basketball games. We're going to do 30 baseball games. Yeah. I mean, it's, and he handles all that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I think Springfield is a sports town.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
And
for
again,
sure. And it's a high school sports town.
Yeah, I mean, high school,
and I don't want to belittle. I'd like nothing more than for UIS to have a D2 or whatever football program. I think it'd be great. But we don't have that.
Right.
That's why Champaign, you go over to Champaign and there's not a lot of high school sports on the radio because they've got U of I.
Right.
And same thing in Bloomington Normal with ISU. But here we are a high school sports. We just are.
It is unique in that way, for sure.
And luckily we have great sponsors. I mean, on our high school games, we have like 50-some sponsors.
Yeah,
which is incredible.
Yeah, and I need to I should know the answer to this. Do you do much in Decatur with the sports like you do here?
Well, they do quite a bit over there, but they handle their own
deal. Yeah. But I mean,
they do quite a bit.
I didn't.
We probably do a lot more play-by-play.
Okay.
So you're not really involved at all with the stations from Decatur?
No, because Kathy Byerly, who Brad knows, who worked for us over here, started as our front desk person and went to sales manager. She's doing a great job over there. Moved over there. We talk.
Yeah, she's great. And, she handled our account for a few years, I think.
She did. Yeah, she does a great job over there. No, we have good people in every market. So I don't know. I'm going to get to 70 and then stop or think about it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
As long as I have my health, I can still do what I.
I'm with you. If you have something you love to do, and you're healtty,
right.
I'm of the very same mindset. The thought of, I mean, I have a 3-day weekend and I lose my mind if I don't have things to do. I like to golf, but I don't. I can't play golf every day.
I couldn't play every day.
Yeah.
I mean, I went up with my daughters this weekend. I love being there.
And you are very involved with your daughter. I know.
I was ready to come back though last night. Yeah, I was ready to come back.
And how old are the girls now?
They're 6 and 4.
Yeah. Did you have a ton of fun with them?
6 and 4. Yeah, we did. Yeah. They're going to be 7 and 5 here coming up.
What do they call you?
Just Grandpa.
Okay, Grandpa.
all that.
I know you're not sensitive about that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, it's nice. Meemaw and Paw.
So there's no special name for you?
No, because
I bet there is, and we're just not saying it.
Yeah. No, but I remember my daughter, what do you want him to call it? I said, well, just Grandpa's fine. I don't know.
Yeah, right. I got you.
That's a big deal now.
It is a big deal.
It is.
Yeah. People care about that. Like they're in charge of what they're going to call them. Yeah.
So, but no, we have fun, and they're up there. They're close. Harmony takes me up there. It's great.
That's
you don't like to drive.
I stopped driving up to Chicago.
We had this conversation at the Hickory Point Christmas party last year.
Never bothered me forever. I grew up in that traffic, but you get on those tollways, and they're up there by O'Hare. That's busy.
Oh, that is busy.
People are going 80 miles an hour, and they're on your bumper
and end up in their driveway, and it's great. And luckily, Jay, Harmony, and Shane are very good, and they take care of me. And they did it. Their son took me Friday.
He's a sharp young man.
Skylar, sharp guy. Skylar. Their kids are all. We're going to have Benny on the radio, their daughter, next week.
But what is she doing? I hear her on the radio.
She's in Nashville, but big aspirations to run for political office. She's forming, I found out today, I don't want to bust her bubble, but we're going to have her on next week, and she's going to announce a group she's forming, a young people that are conservative thinkers.
Oh, yeah.
And she's very hopes to run for political office here one day. Very sharp.
Wonderful.
Yeah, very sharp.
Well, we need more of that.
Yeah, we do. That younger generation.
Yes.
Big time.
So,
yeah.
Speaking of political office, what do you think about our new state rep, Mike Coffey?
Well, and not saying anything out of school, I've never seen him happier.
I agree.
I know you guys would agree.
Yeah.
I've had people comment to me, but I never was one. I think when you'd see Junior, inside the restaurants. He's just, that's a pressure situation. You react differently.
Yep.
And he's a little different in there. And he can admit that, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But outside of there, he's a great guy.
Yeah. He's got a heart of gold. So many people don't know that
we
about
could call him
A lot of people don't
we could call him right now.
Yeah.
His dad's like that and his mom.
Yeah.
But I think it's great. And I'm going to tell you, I don't think being the state rep is where he's going to stop.
Yeah, I hope not.
I just have this feeling that he yearns for maybe something higher.
I agree.
And we'll see. He's still a young guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he's great at what he does.
He is.
I mean, he knows.
Listen, he's in the super minority. But you see him out there. He's attending all these things.
Couldn't agree more.
Got a great Facebook page. They talk about what he's doing. No, I really,
agree.
And
I have seen a whole different side. I mean,
he understands the political landscape very well.
Hey,
he does.
He was sitting down here as he's run or been head of SMEA, the BOS Center. Tell me somewhere else in town that that whole remodel of that lobby, that lower level where we have the Hall of Fame banquet.
Right.
That's his doing.
Yeah.
I mean, he got that all done with dollars and funds from people that may not have done it for somebody else.
Correct.
He knows how. There's you got it. Politics, man.
Yeah.
It's a whole different deal, and you got to know how to play it. And I think he does. But I think he really, and he said it on with Sam, and in other interviews when he was chosen to take over Tim Butler's spot. He cares about making our community better.
Yep.
And he grew up, his grandparents are here, his folks, his kids are all going to end up here. Well, two are here. His daughter's going to end up back here probably. And he wants it to, we need to improve our community. That's why I'm hoping Misty can do, I'm hoping that brings that breath of fresh air and stuff. I love Jim, great guy, but I think Misty deserves a shot. We'll see. Yeah. But Mike truly cares about getting stuff for our area.
Yeah.
And not that you can't do that in the house here, but maybe even on a bigger scale in Washington, D.C. Yeah. Or whatever. But he knows his stuff.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people doubt him. There's some people, spaghetti cook. Well,
no, he knows the landscape very well and how to work in that
he's sharp.
arena.
And, beyond, and I give him credit. He was on his way to attend law school probably at Illinois.
Right.
Yeah.
And get into the political game at some point. That a tragedy happened in their family. He came home to help his parents. And here we are, in 2023. And so I'm glad he's he's gotten to do that. So I noticed he led off the table. You went, with him first.
Well,
so that was a good choice.
We like him more than you.
No, I know.
But funny story real quick about.
They love Wike. You ever seen Wike out at Papa's? Wike's really something. You know this because you're around him more than I am. I love to watch Wike in action.
Can we edit this out?
No, this is nothing bad. But Wike, he's got that 20 or whatever ready. If somebody doesn't even wait on him, he's tipping them. It's amazing. I mean, it took me a while to catch on. I see him talking to so-and-so or somebody made him a nice drink. I mean, never mind the primary waitress. The other ones get a little, and they love him.
Well, funny story that kind of ties in with your story about you and Sam. They confuse you two. One day, I was playing golf with Mike. I came off the green, and this guy comes over and says, "Hey, I just want to tell you," to me.
Yeah.
Okay, and Mike's probably 15 paces behind me. He says, "Hey, I just want to tell you, I had a great dinner last night at your place downtown. Service was amazing, food, the whole 9 yards." And I said, I said, "Hey, listen, I don't own a restaurant." He goes, "Yeah, Saputo's." I'm like, "Oh," I said, "You mean Mike behind me?" Mike had this big grin on his face. He goes, "Oh, my twin." He's about 10 inches shorter than me.
But you're in there so much, people think.
I think he's a part owner.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, I have said, if I do retire, I would love to just maitre d' downtown.
Yeah.
I would do that on a part-time basis. I would do that 3 nights a week. I'd love to see people, BS with them when they come in.
Yeah.
Sit down. How's your meal going?
Yeah.
I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
So maybe Chloe will hire me one day.
Right.
Yeah, you think Mike could be a tyrant? Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned the BOS Center and the sports deal.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah. How was that received? Brad had I think was a sponsor, and we attended. I thought it was a really welcome change.
I heard
from times I'd been in the past.
I heard nothing. I heard no negatives. We had a follow-up meeting a few weeks ago, and we're going to do it again. I just liked it. You gotta scale things back. You gotta be quicker. People don't want to.
People don't want to be.
And we realized that. Yeah. And it was just sort of time for a change. I liked the venue. Now I think it could also. We talked about, and let any cat out of the bag here, but you could also probably have that, maybe the big cocktail thing in that main lobby, which is a great place to have, and then drape off the main floor and then go right into the thing. But downstairs was fine.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
It was fine. Yeah, those extra rooms.
Well.
Yeah, it worked well. And then the speeches tend to go long, and so we did that Q&A.
I really liked the Q&A part.
And
that was well done.
Rupe asked good questions. He was a 40-year journalist interviewing
he does a great
people.
Job, for sure.
And Dion was good. So no, we had great feedback on that. And this was thanks to Mike and others. But we had free parking because we had board members worried about the parking. Yeah. People aren't going to go. They want to pay to park, and they made it free that night in the ramp and across the street. So I thought it was great. And this doing heavy hors d'oeuvres, I think people liked it.
Yeah. Any changes coming next year? Do you think that you can talk about?
We have some more meetings coming up. I think this is going to be basically the same thing.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But yeah, for all in all, I think there were some old timers that were like, "Oh man, no sit down meal."
Right.
Yeah. No matter what.
This and we cut some like Chris, our president, didn't speak long. He just we tried to move it along, and we were out by 9:10. There's been nights in that thing you're walking out of there at 10:30, 11 o'clock
last year.
So people don't, then people leave. And so it's a good, there's a lot of folks that need to still go in. And
I thought it was a great change. Yeah. From times I've attended in the past.
Now look, I'm not being. You're not in that. Are you in that?
No, we got to get you.
I think only your brother in that.
My brother Doug is in.
Doug's in. I knew Doug was in.
I don't know what year it would have been. It was several years after he passed away.
Right.
He went.
I remember when he went in.
Were there to do the.
Yeah, I do recall that. But somebody asked me about you.
And then if we were going to nominate him or somebody was going to, how do you do that?
You just go on the website. Just Google Springfield SportsHallOfFame.com, and you get right on there.
Okay, gotcha.
And you need to,
No, I know.
How about we go back to another topic like Neuhoff Media?
Well, that's fine. But there's a lot of people.
There's not a lot of national champions.
No,
I agree.
No, you still wear that big ring?
Yeah.
I have it on every once in a while.
Oh yeah, don't get me started on that.
Don't even get going. It's a good talking point.
It is a good talking point.
It's like you've always wanted to be a sportscaster, right?
Yeah.
People love sports.
They
and
do.
So I have found over the years that it is, especially when you're dealing with business development and sales, that people always want to talk sports.
And you were on. That was a great team.
Ellenberger, all that. He has a story to tell.
Huge.
And we'll go on these luncheons, and they'll say, "What about the ring?" And he gets all choked up like he doesn't know what it is. I was like, "Come on!"
How about speaking of rings?
Let's talk about Jimmy John. I mean, that's what they don't want to talk about our business.
Right.
You know what I mean? And by the way, here just call us if you need us, right?
I get it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of rings, I'm looking around yesterday on Facebook, and somebody put up there. I didn't know this. They may have told me. Ken Leonard lost one of his state championship rings down when they went to Australia. Remember, they went to see his brother in the Dallas airport. That was a couple of years ago at least. Him and Angie were going, and just recently, somebody found that, and somehow they tracked him, his name and the school, tracked him down, and they have made arrangements for this person to send them the ring. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Dallas Airport, which is ginormous.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, and that's something. I got to get more details on that, but I text her. I go,
how'd you know that? I mean, it was on Facebook or something?
Yeah,
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
And she said, "Oh yeah, we're aware." They reached out. Yeah, really something.
That's
pretty cool.
something. That's really cool.
Yeah. What's radio going to look like 10 or 20 years from now?
I think it'll still be there. Will there be a tower like sitting out at 3055 South 4th Street? Probably not. But now just think, here's the exciting part. Just think of all the ways you can listen to radio. You know, it used to be you had to have the radio in your car or the box, you know, on your kitchen counter, in your bedroom, your clock radio, hit the sleep thing. But now, you know, I listen to so much radio on my phone because everybody has apps. They're the greatest thing in the world. Yep. You can be on your, you know, I'm on my laptop or my desktop sometimes, and I'll pop on a Chicago station, see what's going on up there. Mm-hmm. You can listen like that. You know, you can go to websites. Every station has a website. You can listen. So there's more ways to listen. And I think there always will be. I think the day's coming when we don't have, you know, we just had to put a new transmitter in for our Bob station down on beautiful Lead Line Road in Auburn, Loami. You know, that's like 10 G's. You know, you won't have to do that because you won't need them. Because people will be accessing you via the internet. Sure.
That'll be the deal.
I mean, what isn't?
Yeah.
You know, but there'll always be some form of radio. And what I said, the local aspect of it. You know, hey, listen. Coming back yesterday, I had Skylar put on. I left at 4, right in the heart of the end of the. So I said, turn on XM with the Masters channel, and it was great.
It was great, yeah.
Mike Tirico was doing it.
Was he really?
Oh my God!
Interesting.
Golf on radio. It's unbelievable. Yeah. They had people on every hole. It was great.
You do a good job.
Yeah,
I'm sure Tirico's the guy.
I don't think it's not going away. I mean, we're the last sort of right now in a market like this, the last way for people to really on a daily basis get some current information.
Yes, for sure.
I'd like to see us be able to employ more news people in that. But I think it'll always be around in some form. I really do.
Yeah, hard to find. Good talent.
Well, that and just it all comes down to dollars and that. But we're still, our revenue here is very strong, but that's due to great local clients, So So I think in 20 years, still be there.
Yeah. So your Cubs are a White Sox fan.
Big time Cubs.
Big Cubs. Yeah.
But we do the Sox.
Okay.
Sox Park was the first ballpark my dad ever took me to in 1963. Mm-hmm. But we do Cubs, and we do both. Yeah. But no, I love the Cubs because I grew up with them on TV and radio.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right, I want to get off before saying I want to commend this guy. He came over to Springfield. You become a major part of the community.
Yes.
Run a great business. You care about people. Folks, one of the nicest guys in town, if you don't know him. But Bradley's done a great job with Peerless.
Thank you.
And we miss Garner a lot.
Yep.
I think about him. When I see his son playing for Riley Green, it's unbelievable.
I know.
I mean, that story, we could do an hour on that story.
It started at the BOS Center.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Playing for, they had their own little band.
And we had that.
You got him in there. And he played for Eric Church or something like that. Remember that?
Yes. I'm trying to think of who that was.
But that got him going in that deal.
And then he went, that was one guy that went to Nashville and whoosh.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the Brad Paisley thing.
He did it all on his own.
That was incredible.
That kid's doing, and now he started a business where they're purchasing sound equipment.
Oh wow!
And renting it out to up and coming artists.
Nice. Yeah.
And he's got his hands in a lot, man. Yeah. And the kid's a hustler and like his father.
Yeah.
Does not know a stranger.
That guy.
He was a good one. TG was a good one. That's for sure.
Great guy.
He was a guy.
Deal.
And then you coming in now has just elevated this business.
I don't know about that.
Well, no,
probably taking it down a notch.
I know you guys are buzzing. Look at these two guys, two studs.
You're talking about this is a local first town, right?
Right.
And so, the Hembrough name has a lot of equity in this town. And, even though I have been here for, I've lived here for 7 or 8 years and did business here for maybe 16 or 18 years, whatever the number is, until I really moved into this town, there were doors I just couldn't get in because I was always a Decatur guy.
Yeah, it's sort of a tough town to break into.
It is,
sure. It is.
But Chris has gotten us in places in the last, he's been here just over, a year and 3 or 4 months. But doors I've been knocking on for a lot of years and walk in and it's like they're all long lost best friends. So
Hembrough, we first met in Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
On one of the
Troxel trips.
That's
March
where I first met Brad.
Yeah. And I realized then how much we were going to have fun over the years. And I consider you one of my closer friends, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You have been really good to me and helped me out over the years, and I've had a lot of fun, a lot of good laughs with you. We really have. Yeah.
Too bad we can't talk about it.
You and Butchie are two of my favorites. You know that.
Well, Butchie.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck as you move forward with the table. I love it. This is great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank
I think I just dropped about 25 up here. LBs.
It's a little hot. I know.
I wish that would work for me. Thanks for being on.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.